Hello and thank you for joining me on this short video. My name's Andy Bowles and I'm a food lawyer, and this is video number 11 out of a series of 100 on UK food law topics. Today's topic is food allergen management. Now of course you will maybe watching this on our YouTube channel, or if you're watching it on our online training service you will have access to additional materials including an hour-long webinar on this topic. Okay, so I'm talking about food allergen management, but before I move on to the actual management issues, I need to quickly define what a food allergen is. Well, we're talking about the area of food hypersensitivity. So while I'm using the term allergen, I'm actually using it in quite a loose and a very broad way because I'm referring to food allergies, but also food intolerances. A food allergy is where an allergen is consumed, and this results in an immune response. So it's a sort of whole body reaction. It can range from mild symptoms up to anaphylaxis, which is a very unpleasant condition to be in. Food intolerance is not an immune response to a food allergen, but is actually an adverse reaction to a component of food. So you might get something like lactose intolerance, for example. Anyway, in food law, and we're talking, this is food hygiene law is the management of food allergens, but providing of information is a food standards issue. So this sort of falls between both areas. There are 14 food allergens prescribed in UK law. They're listed behind me, but in tiny writing, so we'll just quickly run through them. Cereals containing gluten, crustaceans, fish, eggs, peanuts, soybeans, milk, nuts, that would be other nuts like hazelnuts and almonds and so forth, they're named in the regulations, celery, mustard, sesame seeds, sulfur dioxide at certain levels, lupin, and mollusks. So these are the 14 specified allergens in law. What are the management issues? Well, the most common management failures associated with food allergens are putting the right products in the right pack but the wrong label on it. So misinformation on product labels is actually a key factor in food allergen management. Mismatch of product to packaging, so putting the wrong product in the wrong package, or just the unintentional presence of allergens due to cross-contamination within a manufacturing or catering environment. There's lots of guidance out there. The Food Standards Agency on their website provide a lot of detail, but we've also had guidance produced by Food and Drink Europe, by the Anaphylaxis UK, which is a particularly good website, and I would certainly recommend you go and have a look at that. Allergy UK and the Institute of Food Science and Technology, just to name a few. So let's have a look at some of the issues commonly affecting catering establishments. This is only a short video, so I only have time to go through a sample here. So in food allergen control in catering often relies on the following issues: awareness, avoidance, recipe control, ingredient control, cross-contamination management, and then provision of information to the consumer. Awareness. Now it's really important that people within a business are aware of the food allergens, the 14. They need to understand, particularly there's some troublesome ones in there, like differentiating between peanuts and other nuts. So peanuts are ground nuts, whereas walnuts and almonds are tree nuts, and they're different proteins. So it's really key for staff to understand that providing information about the presence of peanuts is very different from providing information about the presence of nuts generally. So business awareness, understanding food allergens. The food business operator needs to understand food allergens so that they can pass that information on to their staff. Also, awareness and understanding of the products produced by the business. So with staff, it's an ongoing thing. Are they regularly briefed? Do they have access to accurate information on food allergens? Avoidance is another really key issue. There are some allergens that can be very potent. Peanuts, for example. You might want to think in your business, is it worth having peanuts as an ingredient in any foods? You might have a catering business where one or two of the items on a dessert menu might contain peanuts. Is it really worth the risk of having peanuts in the environment? Would it not be better just to substitute with a different type of product or just to omit them altogether. So when looking at management of food allergens, often the first thing you should be thinking is, do you need to have the allergens present in the environment in the first place? Is there a substitute possible? Still retaining the quality and desirability of your food, but actually removing the allergen itself. Then we have recipe control. It's looking at each individual item on a menu and identifying whether there are any food allergens present. We've already decided whether you're going to have them or not, and if you decide to retain them, well, we need to make sure we understand. If you're going to have standard menus or any variations of menus, if you have seasonal dishes, you'll need to update that. You always need to think about variation. There could be changes in supply. Any ingredients that you buy in might themselves have different allergens declared on the label, so you need to keep on top of that. Different chefs might have different ways of producing a food. So again, you need to make sure that all staff follow the same rules, so you can make sure that all of your foods, you fully understand the food allergens present. Ingredient controls. Do ingredients have adequate labelling? Are there any changes in ingredients and formulation? Are you changing supplier? Are you changing brands? The potential for undeclared allergens to get into a food is often influenced by changes in supply, changes in ingredients. Then there is the cross-contamination. If you are handling a particular allergen in your catering environment, but also this applies in factory environments, you need to undertake a risk assessment. Is the allergen adequately controlled and limited to one particular environment? Can you perhaps handle that particular food in one distinct area of your kitchen? Can you use chopping boards to separate it from work surfaces? Can you store it separately from other ingredients? Physical separation is always the best way of trying to prevent cross-contamination. Using colour-coded equipment, using separate sealed containers are really the way forward. The next issue in food allergen management is the provision of information. We're moving into a food standards area here, but information needs to be provided along the supply chain. So it's making sure you get accurate information on the presence of food allergens in your ingredients from your suppliers. Are they regularly updated? Secondly, providing accurate information to staff, maybe production of fact sheets. And also then providing adequate information to consumers. Now, it's a big fallacy in food law. Some businesses seem to think that if they just say to customers, look, we can't guarantee whether it's present or not, that is some sort of get out of jail card. Quite the opposite. You have a responsibility as a food business to ensure that your products are safe and the food that you place on the market is safe. If, however, there are other videos on this, but defences in food law that you only have to act reasonably. You only have to take reasonable precautions and exercise due diligence. So you have to behave as a reasonable person. If you are asked by a customer, does this food contain peanuts? Well, if it's listed on the ingredients list, if there is other foods in your environment that have peanuts present, and you are unable through proper risk assessment to guarantee that the peanuts are not going to be present in foods, then you would tell the consumer accordingly. So if it's an ingredient, you say, yes, it contains peanuts. If it's not an ingredient in a food, you say to the consumer, no, it does not contain peanuts. That is a reasonable action. So you can provide information to consumers in writing. Some businesses like to do this, provide them with access to written information, as long as it's something that's easily understood and read by the consumer, that's fine. Other businesses prefer to provide this information verbally. Okay, so that was just one video. There are another 99 more. You can read up on our website further information about this topic, but please join me on the next video on 100 food law topics. Thank you for listening.